WBO heavyweight world champion Joseph Parker has found a replacement opponent to fight on May 6th, a guy to replace Hughie Fury, who pulled out with a supposed back injury. The name of the opponent is Razvan Cojanu. Now, I'm looking at his box rec here. He is a Romanian heavyweight. He's 30 years old. He's 6'7.5", according to BoxRec. He has a record of 16 wins, 2 losses. One of those losses coming by knockout, and he has 9 KOs to his name. His first loss was in his pro debut. That was a 4-round majority decision loss. And his second loss was back in 2015, which was a 2nd round KO loss to a guy called Donovan Dennis. He hasn't beaten anybody of note. In fact, he hasn't beaten anyone who most of you will actually recognize. Any names you guys will recognize. His last couple of fights were against a Chinese guy. His last fight, a Chinese guy whose name I won't attempt to pronounce. That guy had a record of 7 wins, 1 loss. The guy he fought before that had a record of 0 wins and 3 losses. The guy before that was an individual called Grover Young, who is a journeyman that I do actually know. I am familiar with him. He had a record at the time of 12 wins, 17 losses and 3 draws. So you can see that Razvan Cojanu has a very poor record in terms of quality of opposition. He doesn't have a poor record in terms of the numbers in his win and loss column. 16-2 seems okay. But on top of all that, Cojanu actually worked as a sparring partner for Joseph Parker in the lead up to Parker's fight against Alexander Dimitrenko, which is perhaps why Team Parker have picked him, because they're familiar with him. They've had him in camp. They know what he can do. They know what he's about. Now, given the poor level of opposition that Cojanu was faced and the fact that Parker's very familiar with him, you would have to imagine that this fight is not going to be particularly competitive. Maybe I'm selling Cojanu short. Maybe I should actually go and watch some of his fights before I form an opinion. But just superficially looking at his record on paper, you wouldn't imagine Parker's going to have too much trouble here. So we'll see what happens. There were a couple other heavyweights, at least 2 other heavyweights that called Joseph Parker out. One of them being WBC heavyweight world champion Deontay Wilder, although he wasn't talking about fighting Parker on May 6th. He was talking about maybe fighting Parker either in July or at the end of the year. June or July or at the end of the year. And there was also Dominic Brazil. He came out and said that he would fight Joseph Parker, and he actually was willing to step in and face Parker at short notice. I don't know what kind of money he was asking for, or if there was any correspondence between Team Parker and Team Brazil. Who knows? But Dominic Brazil did come out publicly and say he would step in and fight Joseph Parker on short notice, and surely Dominic Brazil would have been a better opponent than Razvan Cojanu. Dominic Brazil, if nothing else, is very, very tough and very, very game. He will come and give it a go. We know that about Dominic Brazil. He's done it several times now. So drop your comments in the comment section below. Let me know what you feel about this replacement opponent for Joseph Parker. At the end of the day, Parker was supposed to be fighting Hughie Fury, who we believe is a much better opponent than Cojanu. So you can't blame Parker too much. As a short notice opponent, this guy is in the WBO top 15. I believe he's somewhere between 11 and 15, which is where I expected them to pick a late replacement opponent from. Somewhere between 11 and 15 in the rankings. So you can't blame him too much. Would they really want to put Parker in with someone extremely dangerous on short notice? You know, I don't know. You let me know what you think in the comment section below.